this is, again, something that everybody knows about, but like the bridge, but it's so central, literally and figuratively, to the city, to what's going on in the city, and that's Golden Gate Park. So can you maybe, Kimberly, can you just give a quick overview of the park? And then I have some facts, because I loved some of these facts about the park.
So Golden Gate Park is one of my favorite places in the city. In fact, I met Jill the other day at Outer Lands, and on the way home, I did my little roam through the park, because it just brings me a lot of peace.
Yep.
It's a big park in San Francisco. It's bigger than Central Park in New York. It is. We recommend in the book that you spend an entire day there, and you truly could. You could spend a whole weekend there.
Yeah, definitely.
It has museums. It has music. It has, flowers. It has a conservatory of flowers. It has bison. It has its resident herd of bison. It has Dutch windmills. It has restaurants. I mean, it has slides, or a children's corner, right? The park, and
paddle boats.
Paddle boats on Stowe Lake, and the Japanese tea garden that we spoke of, and
AIDS Memorial Grove.
The AIDS Memorial Grove we mentioned in our book. And it is truly, it's truly an oasis in the city. I have to be very cliche, but it is. I love going there.
So cliche. God.
I love going there.
And you're a writer.
I am.
I would have thought. All right. So, yeah.
I write guidebooks. We have to be cliche.
That's true. Let's be honest. Okay. All right. It makes perfect sense. But your guidebooks, however, I can vouch firsthand. I've read both of your guidebooks from start to, because you only have those two, right?
That we're talking
for
about
guidebooks.
today, yes.
Well, because you also have the one that you won the award for.
That wasn't a guidebook.
That's what I was going to say. That was
no,
more.
I wrote another book when I lived in Brussels, Belgium. So I wrote a guidebook on Belgium for Michelin, but I never really talked about that book.
All right, well, we're not going to talk about that. So I have read your two known guidebooks.
Okay, San Francisco guidebooks
from start to finish. So I can confirm that you are. It's not whatever we said it was a second ago, because now I got so lost in time. It's not cliche. Okay. I want to read. It's fabulous. That's the word I would use. I told you a million times. My sisters love those books. Okay, I'm going to get comfortable here, and then I'm going to read a couple of facts about Golden Gate Park. So you mentioned that it is larger. It's 20% larger than Central Park, which is very interesting. It's more than 1,000 acres. But something you didn't mention that I love, and I did know this part. I didn't know some of these things. It was carved out of, quote, and this is the quote from Wikipedia, unpromising sand and shore dunes that were known as the Outside Lands. That's where Outside Lands gets its festival, and that park gets. But so that's one thing that to me is really interesting, that it's a quote unquote man-made park, whatever the gender-neutral term for man-made is. I'm not sure what that would be. Human-made park, I guess. It's a human-created park. So I love that, because when you go, that's not what it feels like. It feels like this crazy, wonderland. So that started, engineer William Hammond Hall started the park in 1870, became its commissioner in 1871. But then John McLaren, who had apprenticed in Scotland at the home of many of the 19th century's best professional gardeners, when asked by the Park Commission if he could make Golden Gate Park, quote, one of the beauty spots of the world, he replied by saying, "With your aid, gentlemen, and God be willing, that I shall do." He promised that he'd go into the country and walk along a stream until he found a farm, and that he'd come back to the garden and recreate what nature had done. And that's what I think you do. You think it's a natural thing, even though it's all these weird species. So point being, he ended up then, let's see, they grew French grass seeds for 2 years, and then once they had the grass, they planted them to hold the sand down. And then after that success, they were able to, once they'd secured the sand, they introduced new species of plants, and McLaren is credited with adding over 700 new types of trees to California within the span of 1 year.
Wow.
Which I thought was really interesting. Today we wouldn't do that because they're non-natives, but it is cool when you're in the park. You see so many species that you're like, where is that from? There's obviously from all over the world. And that's not even in the botanical gardens. That's just all over the park. By 1875, 60,000 trees, mostly eucalyptus globulus, Monterey pine, and Monterey cypress, had been planted. By 1879, that figure had more than doubled to 155,000 trees over 1,000 acres. So anyway, I just thought that was really interesting about the park. A lot of stuff I didn't know.